Welcome back, puppies. Part 2 of the Skitarii Rangers. I've gotten quite a bit more painting done than I had intended to do. I got to listening to some podcasts and painted away and painted more off camera than what I had intended, but that's really no big deal because there's not a whole lot going on here, so I'll still be able to show what I'm doing. I've painted a lot more of the metal bits with one of my favorite metal colors, and that's this color right here. It's the same one that I used that you saw in a previous video on the feet and the knees and the armor on the thighs. Black metal from Scale Color. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite metals to base with. This used to be mine. This is gunmetal from Game Air. I used to base pretty much all of my kind of steel or chrome or any kind of silver metal with this and then highlight up from there, but there isn't a whole lot left in that one. Rather than just run out and buy another one, I had gotten this in a kit with some other metal colors from Scale Color, and so I've started using it and I really like it. It's got a nice creamy texture to it, for lack of a better way of saying it. It's nice and smooth without being too thin, and it's not super thick. So I gave a thin coat of that as a base, and then I took it up to thrash metal from Scale Color, and then I mixed that in with a little bit of heavy metal. And there really isn't any straight heavy metal on there. It was kind of a mixture of these two. Show this. This is Cobalt Alchemy from Scale Color, and that Cobalt Alchemy got used on these little tube bits, like this here, the arm, and this tube running down here, and these tubes running around under their arm. And then I use this Negro Gray. I want to back out just a smidge, let it focus a little easier. And the Negro Gray got used on the tubing, such as you see here and here, and like coming around the face. And there's also, if you look right here, there's some kind of little gauge. I hit it with white on the inside, just a pure dead white from Vallejo's Game Color line, and then from the Game Air line I gave it some of this light livery green. So alright, let's get started. Laying down some Nuln oil, and then depending on how this turns out, I may actually come back and highlight some more. I don't know. Oh, and there are also some areas where I kind of overpainted a little bit and I had to touch up, but I'll come back to that once I get all the finer bits painted. I'm going to come back and hit all this orange stuff again anyway. And that Negro Gray also got used on these little, this is some kind of radio device, and there's, you know, a coil wire right there. Got posted there too. And I just found a hose that I missed, so I'll have to go back and take care of that in a minute. And there's a little pouch that all of them have right here that I'm going to come back and paint leather later. I think I'm going to go with a leather brown. That's the plan. I don't know, I may dab some of that back out of here. I think I'm going to wait and wash the face later after I paint up the lenses. That's something I don't know if I've demonstrated in a previous video. Anytime you've still got some wet paint, or if there's a little bit of excess, especially if you're working with a wash or something like a glaze, just kind of dab it off on a paper towel off your brush, and then come back and hit the spot with your brush, and your bristles will usually soak up the excess. Alright. Well, we're waiting on that to dry. I'll go ahead and demonstrate on these other guys here. Same steps. This is some kind of little camera there, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to paint up the lens yet. These guys are actually really cool to paint. Sorry for the long moments of silence there. When I get up under his chest here, let's make certain I did. Alright. Yeah, the more I paint these guys, the more I'm thinking about picking some up myself. I was looking at some other variants. Because I don't play 40K, they would probably get used in an RPG as something else, like maybe something similar to a Warforged, or what I like to call Ironborn, which are just Warforged in my homebrewed setting. I got the name Ironborn from Monty Cook's supplement. Well, I say supplement, it was from a 3rd edition Malhavik press. I don't know, where was that hose that I missed? There it is. That was on our lead guy, too. So again, I'm using the Negro Gray here. I still have some on my wet palette, which is a nice thing about using a wet palette. It keeps the paint kind of wet. Especially for me living in what is technically the Southwest, I guess, here in Oklahoma. The air gets really dry in the wintertime. And then in the summertime, when it's typically more humid because you're running an air conditioner inside, which the main function of an air conditioner is it pulls the humidity out of the air. Wet palettes really pay off because my paints will dry out real quick. Like I used to use this tile, and I still use it quite a bit. It's just a tile from a leftover project around the house. I used to use it as a palette. Paint will dry out on it like a little dab of paint, say as big as the grain that you see here, will dry out on that in about 10 minutes, sometimes less, just depending on how dry it actually is. This flat red from Model Color, Beleho. Oh, you can hear that? Yeah, I got a little bearing in there. Good thing. This is thick. Get it mixed up real good. And I'm going to be cheating, and I'm going to use this. Well, I say cheating. It's not really cheating. I'm just using another tool. It's a magnifying lens with LED underneath it. Hopefully you can still see that. So I overpainted there a little bit, and I just went back in and kind of cleaned it up. I'm trying to paint the base of the gauge. No needle portion of it there. It's one guy down. Let me touch that up. I'm going to let that dry. So each one of these packs has a different little antenna on it. Well, okay, so those other two are identical, but the gauges on them are not all the same. I don't know, that might be the dial for the radio. I don't know. That's really what that backpack looks like. It's just some big communications device. Okay, so I'm going to paint these straps on here, and I'm going to paint them leather brown. That's the wrong brown. This is the brown I already have on my wet palette. It's leather brown for model color, which is Vallejo. This is, sorry for the long moments of silence there. This is very detailed work. So, really focused. These models are really cool. I really don't know. Ah, darn it. Got some paint where I didn't want to get paint. And I'll come back and fix it later. I already have paint there. I should say I got paint where I didn't want this particular paint. And yep, that would be my son and his buddy hollering. I don't know if that camera picked it up or not, but sounds like they might be playing Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite, but it's very popular with my sons and his friends right now. And darn it if I didn't get some more paint right there where I don't want it. Okay, so now I'm going to touch that up, and I'm going to go ahead and record me touching it up and maybe leave that in the video. So hear the dog barking in the background. That's why I named this Barking Dog Studio. It happens a lot. Doesn't always get recorded, but I actually need to paint this little pouch here. Alright. These guys are starting to shape up. Those rifles will probably be the last thing that I paint just because they're sticking out there, so they'll probably be pretty easy for me to paint, I hope. Just looking over, making sure I didn't miss anything. Yep, I see a spot there. It's a port where this tube plugs in at.
Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'd like to say thank you to the Clarks for their continued support. You can follow us on Facebook, and if you really like what we're doing here, you can support us on Patreon, and we are now also on Subscribestar. Bark on, puppies.